Hello, welcome to my channel, and to my subscribers, welcome back. Today we are making Southern style cornbread, and this is true Southern style cornbread as there is no added sugar in this recipe. And we're going to start off by preheating our oven to 350 degrees, and then we're going to generously coat our cast iron skillet with cooking spray. You can coat it with oil as well. This is to prevent the cornbread from sticking, as well as give the crust a bit of a crisp. And then once the oven reaches 350 degrees, we're going to warm the skillet in the oven for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, in a large mixing bowl, we're going to add 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Then we're going to add 1 cup of yellow cornmeal, and this is regular cornmeal, not the self-rising cornmeal. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of iodized salt. This is to give the cornbread flavor since we're not adding sugar. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And finally, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. The baking soda will help to enhance the browning of the cornbread and give it that picturesque look that you see in photos. Now I'm just whisking all of the dry ingredients until they're well combined. And then we're going to move on to our wet ingredients. And for this recipe, I'm using 2 extra large eggs. Now I tested this with just 1 egg, and it led to a texture that was a lot more crumbly. So that's why I advise going with 2 eggs with this recipe versus 1. And I'm just breaking up the yolks to make it easier to whisk the eggs in later on. And now I'm adding 1/4 cup of bacon fat. And this again will help to enhance the flavor of the cornbread since we're not adding any sugar. These will call for using all butter or all vegetable oil. The problem with vegetable oil is it's considered a neutral tasting fat, so it won't infuse any flavor into the cornbread. Meanwhile, with butter, it has a higher water content, which means the flavor won't be as intense compared to, say, a pure fat, which bacon fat is a pure fat. So I opted to split the difference and instead add 1/4 cup of unsalted butter alongside the 1/4 cup of bacon fat. And finally, I'm adding 1.5 cups of buttermilk. The buttermilk is an acidic ingredient, and this will help to activate the baking soda that we added earlier. In addition, it would also help to neutralize the metallic taste that you normally get with baking soda once you expose it to heat. So now that all of the wet ingredients have been added, I'm going to whisk all of the ingredients together until they're just combined. And you want to be careful not to overwork the batter as well, because if you do, that will lead to gluten development, which will prevent the cornbread from rising properly in the oven. As you saw, I already set the whisk aside, and I'm going to do the same with the bowl that has the batter in it. So now I just pulled the cast iron skillet out of the oven, and be very careful at the stage because the skillet will be hot. And I'm just sitting it down on the surface. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the cornbread batter into the hot skillet. Now this batter will be on the thicker side. While a runny batter is fine, the benefit of a thick batter is that the cornbread, as it bakes, it will have a easier time holding its shape. And what I'm doing now is spreading the batter around so that it's in one even layer. This will ensure it bakes evenly while in the oven. And I'm using the plastic spatula for this, but you can use any utensil that you have, a spoon, knife, fork, whatever. And now I'm going to place the skillet back in the oven, and again, be very careful because the skillet will still be hot, and I will allow the batter to bake for around 25 to 30 minutes. So I allowed the cornbread to bake for around 30 minutes. It is done, so what we're going to do now is let it cool for 15 minutes. The reason you want it to cool is if you were to cut into it too soon, you risk having the cornbread collapse. So you want it to cool to allow the internal structure to fully set in before cutting it and trying to remove a piece. At this point in the video, I've let it cool for 15 minutes, so I am cutting into it now. And that first slice is always the hardest, but in this case, that slice came out pretty well. And if you notice, that cornbread did not stick whatsoever once we removed it from the skillet, and that was thanks to the cooking spray we added earlier. And at this point, it is ready to serve. And this cornbread, it goes great with other savory dishes such as chilies, stews, and soups. I hope you enjoy it if you give it a try. And if you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.